Under the bright moonlight, a middle-aged man was carefully sharpening his spear. Making sure each tip was sharp, after he finished he rushed to the pond and had to pass through a fairly large and quiet cemetery area first. Arriving at the pond, he began to carefully observe the movement in the water. An explosion after explosion broke the calm of the water. His spear vibrated violently. At that moment the water became murky. One by one the fish were dragged to the edge. That is a piece of the story from the Fish Spearman. And together with the Banana Channel Lieutenant, for the next 8 minutes you will be accompanied to see the techniques and strategies for hunting fish that we deliberately recorded the story here. Walking slowly in the darkness of the night with a spear in hand ready to be stabbed, with great patience we carefully observed every movement under the surface of the water. Until in the dark corner of the pool our flashlight shone, we saw one of our target fish preying on smaller fish. With one spear, the boom explosion from our spear was heard quite loudly, accompanied by the sound of gurgling water. Instantly the water became murky and wavy. In the water the fish rebelled against the grip of our spear. Its power was quite strong. Then we dragged the fish to the edge until we managed to lift it to land. And sure enough, the fish was hit by the spear, with the mouth of the fish still leaving the fish that was being preyed on. Our spear hit perfectly, each tip of our spear gripped its entire body. We had a bit of difficulty releasing the spear. After the spear was released the fish rebelled again, jumping around wanting to dive into the pool again. But we swiftly took it and immediately put it in the bag that had been filled earlier. Still in the same pond, we continued by circling the edge of the pond. The water was yellow and shallow enough that our spotlight could penetrate to the bottom. Many small fish were visible, but that was not our target. Finally, in a corner where the water was shallower, we found a fish hiding among the bushes. And boom, the explosion of our second spear was heard again. This time the fish did not struggle like the first fish we caught. We took the fish to a brighter place. The fish moved a little on the ground, but it did not mean anything. We put it back in the bag with an excited feeling. We moved from one pond to another, but still around it, not far from the first pond. The water was still the same, yellow and shallow, with concrete walls on the edge but overgrown with weeds that were not so tall. As usual, we walked slowly until at the end of the pond we found a fish that was vaguely blocked by a water pipe. We aimed long enough to make sure our spear throws did not hit the water pipe. After feeling sure, we immediately stuck the spear with high precision and accuracy. And bum, the explosion sound was quite loud. In the water the fish felt rebellious not long after we dragged it to the edge. And sure enough, our spears landed perfectly at each end, gripping almost all parts of the fish's body. The size of this fish was not too big and not too small. We released it from the spear without any resistance. And we put the fish back into the bag that was starting to fill. With our pockets starting to feel full and sweat starting to come out, we continued looking for fish in the clear water pond. When we got there we looked at the bottom of the pond more carefully. We watched for quite a while. Many fish were hiding when the spotlight shone on them. With great patience, slowly a fish swam closer. With a spear in hand that had been ready since earlier, we immediately aimed it. The target was locked. And the spear was thrown. And, boom, the sound was loud, screaming in the ear. Suddenly the water that was previously clear became turbulent and wavy. At the bottom of the water the fish rebelled, indicating that our spear had hit it right. Not long after we lifted the fish to the ground. The fish we speared turned out to be a catfish, where this catfish has a kind of spur on both sides of the lower gills. It hurt quite a bit if it hit our hands. That's why we were careful when releasing it. And the fish was successfully caught again. The pocket is now quite full. We rushed back to highlight the pond where the fish had just been caught. At a glance we saw a very large shadow at the bottom of the water's surface. Of course it was a very large fish. My hands began to shake in surprise at the size of the fish, which was so large. By squatting on the edge of the pond while observing it more closely. Not long after, the big fish was seen. And with all my strength the spear was thrown again. And boom, the sound of the explosion was heard very loudly. Immediately the spear vibrated violently and was even carried to the middle by the power of the big fish. The atmosphere became a little quiet, waiting for what would happen next, and when the spear was delivered, suddenly the fish let go. It turned out that my spear was unable to withstand the fury of the big fish. I was surprised because my spear was unable to withstand it. After the incident of the fish escaping, a few moments later another fish approached, but it was not very clear because the water was still murky due to the rage of the big fish. We observed the fish carefully. Its movements were quite agile. We waited for the fish to be off guard, and when it was off guard, the spear was thrown again. Boom, the sound was still loud, hitting the murky water surface. Without resistance, the fish was easily caught. Once again, the bag felt full and its weight was already felt on my shoulder.
God, snake head. Whoa. Snake head, hunting spare fishing. Good. Wow, sok santuy. Wow, big! Whoa, big! Oh, so perfect. You, go.
After successfully catching some fish, we finally went home with a decent catch. One by one we put the fish into the sack. Thus, tonight's adventure ends here. We and Lieutenant Banana Chamel say thank you very much. See you next time.